Sir, can you hear me? You've just been in an accident. Sustained major Stay calm, sir. Starting to lose consciousness. Going into cardiac arrest.
Medic!
So my name's Jennifer Sanchez right now.
Right now.
Sorry. Is that awkward?
Awkward as you want to make it.
Okay. My name's Jennifer Sanchez.
I can edit whatever.
Okay, that works. Let's see. I grew up in a very conservative Christian family over in Africa and Brazil. So how I got in this field is crazy, but...
What year did you graduate from here, from Greenville Technical College?
2016.
2016. You're wondering? You sure? All right, 2016.
Hey,
okay.
with as much as I work, it feels like it's been several years.
We're gonna talk about that too. All right, cool. So 2016 graduates. You've been in the field just over a year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So what really brought you to EMS? You say it's stupid. I say I can't wait to hear it.
Okay, so I was in Brazil, sitting on a couch, watching Grey's Anatomy. And there's one episode where there's this EMT that stuck her hand in this body that had some unexploded grenade inside of it or whatnot. And so I was like, that looks really cool. Like, I know she shouldn't have stuck her hand in there, but, you know, to deal with stuff like that, that's kind of cool. So I started to research it, and I thought, well, maybe this might be what's for me.
You showed up to a career talk, and 18, 19 months later, bam, you're a paramedic.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, that is the only, I think that was a 2-part episode. Oddly enough, that is the only episode of Grey's Anatomy I have ever seen. And I'm pretty secure about saying that. And I think at the end, didn't it blow up and people died? Yeah. Okay.
Including the EMT.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, you know what you signed up for. All right. Well, cool. Either way. So you're here. So you had no prior public safety EMS background before you signed up for your first day of EMT?
Nope.
Just Grey's Anatomy watcher.
Yeah.
And that was it?
Well, actually, I was considering becoming a cop.
A cop?
I was.
Okay.
But I really like the science and medicine and all that stuff.
Okay. And did any of your, like the missionary stuff that your family did that play into it?
No.
Not at all. Totally something outside of your comfort zone. Nothing you knew before. Like, hey, let's go do something different.
Yeah, completely different.
Rad. That's awesome. All right, cool. So when you got here, did you go straight through from EMT to paramedic, or did you have like that 7-month gap?
I had a 7-month gap.
So you did your gen eds, and then you showed back up. So
well,
what
actually,
okay.
I went to Bob Jones for 3 years before coming here.
Okay.
So I got most of my gen eds done there, and they transferred. So I was just a transport truck for dialysis and grannies.
Gotcha. And then, okay, so how did that help you before your first day of paramedic school?
It helped me learn how to take blood pressures better in the field, helped me learn how to work on a moving truck, and how to do patient movement and operate stretchers.
Cool. And do you think that it helped maybe ease any fear or give you a leg up during the paramedic education end of it?
I was still scared.
Still pretty scared.
Yeah.
All right. I get it. I absolutely get it. How well? Well, tell me about EMT. Tell me about EMT first. What, you took EMT here?
Yes.
Okay, and tell me about it. You show up and, it's all new to you. Tell me about EMT. 240 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Is it drinking from the fire hose quite yet, or was that more paramedic?
I didn't struggle so much with EMT because I was a lifeguard before, so I knew some of the basic stuff.
Basic first aid, some CPR, AED, no big deal. You're learning some finer points of EMS. All right.
And I didn't have the stress I could say as being the one on the truck. I was just going to be a basic,
Just a basic.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, given basics save paramedics, but...
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So what about paramedic school? You finish EMT, first day of paramedic, EMS 150 here at the college. What do you got? What's going through your head your first day?
Well, first day I was like, I can't believe I'm here because I never got the acceptance letter saying that I was accepted. I got a phone call like a week or two before class was supposed to start asking, hey, are you gonna accept this or do we have another spot open? So I was like, oh, I'm taking it.
Right. All right.
So,
and then you're here.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm sitting here in disbelief, like, I didn't think I was gonna make it this year.
Now you're drinking from the fire hose.
Yes.
Tons of information. Although that first semester is pretty much a playtime. We'll learn some innovation, some advanced assessments, some IVs, all the fun stuff that you're like, I'm going to paramedic school for this. And you're like, oh, it was a quick 15 weeks. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
And then farm and card. More information, just memorizing stuff. 10 weeks.
I thought I was going to die during those 10 weeks, but looking back, they were probably the most fun 10 weeks out of the semester.
They're the only fun 10 weeks. They're the only fun 10 weeks. And then it's EMS 240 and you hate yourself and everyone else and it's the bulk of your medical training and you're tired of the word pathophysiology and you hate me and you hate your classmates and you hate work.
Maybe it's because you left us, but I never hated you.
All right, that's good. Then I was doing something wrong. All right, so let's give me, I'll tell you, before we get to wanting to know if we did a good job, what's your best memory of paramedic school?
I have no clue. I can think of a lot of bad memories because I cried because I was so stressed out.
Well, that's the next question. I like to lead with the good. I like to lead with the positive.
Positive memories don't necessarily have to do with the actual training, I guess.
That's fine. I mean, it's still related.
I mean, I met one of my best friends here.
Awesome. And you still friends with him?
Yeah.
Part of EMS?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I know who that is.
I know you know who that is.
And that's good stuff. And how much do you think that played a role in you being successful in paramedic school?
Oh, it played a big role because if it weren't for her, I would have quit.
Well, there you go. So motivation-wise, I mean, you have your motivation, you have doubt, and that's somebody who probably beat that down a little bit or motivated you. You guys give each other pep talks. I watched it. You guys had 7 feet in front of me, so it was pretty clear. And that's good. I mean, I have no doubt there's probably people out there who wish they had that. And that's good stuff. So all right, so tell me a negative one.
All the stress. Every single time that I cried and self-doubted and beat myself up.
Yeah, but what did you self-doubt? What did you doubt? Did you doubt while you were in class, while you were in scenario, while you were on the truck?
Every time I got a bad grade, I doubted if I was going to be a good enough provider for my patients.
Well, so you equated those grades to am I good enough?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's horrible. I mean, that's hard. I can say that sitting on this side of the desk, like
and finishing it and being on this side of it now. Yeah, that's a horrible way to look at it because I mean you're here to learn, and all those bad grades are just an opportunity to learn. But
what do you consider a bad grade? I mean, there's
anything under an A.
Anything under an A, like okay, all right, well. I don't know how to make you feel better about that, but as a C student who always does not work to potential, and I was happy with B's and what's a dean's list, and it's like, I really just need that patch with those 11 letters on it so I can go do work. Yeah,
I never made the dean's list either, but
and look at us now.
I know.
Right, look at us now. All right, so what would you say? Or did you tell me, do you think that we prepared you? Do you think you were prepared to work as a paramedic on your first day out of school? Like, how did you feel about it?
I mean, if it was just me and a basic, first day on the truck, since I did not have any other emergent experience. I worked with the dialysis transport stuff, and I worked for mobile care for a little bit, which was just discharges. In a way, I did not feel adequately prepared. Like, if I had I felt like I was better than a basic, obviously, because I had more experience, I had more ride time. But if it was just me and a basic, very first time out on the truck, and first day on the job, and if shit hit the fan or whatever that expression was, I would have called for backup in a heartbeat and been like, let's just try and keep airway patent and keep the heart pumping as much as possible. And pull out my standing orders guide and cookie cutter it.
So
like,
what if your backup was like the same way? What were you gonna do?
We were gonna like throw shit together and make it work, get that patient to the hospital. I mean, I could have done it. I have no doubt I could have done it.
There you go. I could have done it.
But was I prepared as much then as I am now with more experience? No.
Well, of course not. You have the experience. you have well, how many times do I say it in class? Experience and exposure. Of course. I mean, you don't think you knew enough that we're going to support the airway and we're going to assess. I mean, that sounds pretty ready. I mean, maybe not mentally, but physically you had the tools, right?
Well, yeah, muscle memory is down, but mentally it's like slowing yourself down because it's the first time you've encountered something like that. And
there's nobody watching you.
Yeah.
Right. I've said it again. I was telling somebody else earlier, telling Rita earlier, that again, I've told you guys 100 times the story of I gave morphine every day, every shift while I was in paramedic school. And the first time I ever had to give it on the truck, I looked at that thing for 5 minutes because I was sitting by myself with my FTO driving us in, this guy with an arm fracture or something. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give 0.2 cc's. It's 2 milligrams. That's what the standing order says. I put it in the carb eject. I checked it. I looked at her, and while she was driving, I was like, hey, I'm going to give 0.2 cc's. And she's like, why are you still talking to me? That guy's arm's fractured. I'm like, all right, cool. And I looked at it. I twirled it around. I check it out. I was like, all right, 0.2 cc's, IV, plus 20 cc's behind it. Check for indications, contraindications, allergies. That went on for 5 minutes in my head, and I was like, hey, just so we're clear, I'm going to give 0.2 cc's. It was like 2 minutes from the hospital. She's like, we're going to be at the hospital before you give it. Hurry up. And I was like, man, I've done this 100 times, but now nobody's watching me physically push it. So I knew how to do it. I put it together right. I understood the drug. I knew the profile. I knew the patient. And it's absolutely different. It's absolutely different. But that's good. That's good that you can sell. How about now? Like, how do you feel? How do you feel a year later? Just over a year later.
I feel like there's still a lot to learn, but I'm a lot more confident and comfortable.
And you made it. You made it through what I call the survival year. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But I got other questions. I got other questions for you. So what didn't school prepare you for? Like, is there a handful of things, one thing that sticks out that you're like, man, school did not cover this, or, and not, the intricacies of Welland syndrome and cardiac stuff, like something personal or, something you've encountered. You're like, man, I wish they would have talked about that. Or they never said anything about this.
In all honesty, I wish they dealt more in school about mental health too.
Right, and that is.
I know you're coming up to that, but
no, that's actually I'm adding it now. I've added my own stuff to the curriculum for that very reason, because you get honestly 4 paragraphs in health and well-being on your second day of paramedic school, and it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's way more of a big deal now. So go ahead, I interrupted you.
I can think of the first call that made a huge impact on me. And honestly, I didn't know how to cope with it afterwards.
Right.
And a year later, I still don't know exactly how to cope with it.
Right. I don't know that I can build that into a curriculum, but just recognizing that.
Right.
As part of resiliency training is a very self-care resiliency training. It was really funny. About a little over a year ago, I did continuing ed for us, or for the county when I was there, and it was one of the off months where it wasn't required, and I did resiliency training, and the more I was talking about it, the response from people, from employees and attendees was like, dude, that was awesome. And I was like, man, we really should put this where everyone has to hear it. And I think social media plays a very large role in, and again, code. We talk about the Code Green campaign, and it seems, I think EMS providers unfortunately think that that's the only spot for them, and it's great. I think they do a great job, except for in typical EMS fashion, it's not. I don't ever want to say it's a joke. It's getting way more publicity because of social media. There's way more stuff in your face right now. It was probably something we just didn't talk about.
Right.
That EMS was just like, you bury that down there. We'll talk about it with a therapist when we retire, but I'm never retiring.
Or
Things
even
like that.
there's a misconception of PTSD. Not that I have it or I'm close to having it, but someone that I know said that, you guys can't have PTSD because you aren't in the military.
I absolutely, if that someone was me, I honestly 100% said that, and I changed it a little bit. I didn't say that we can't have it. I said we don't deserve it. We don't deserve it because we weren't seeing the horrors of war on a daily basis.
Right. And I'm not saying that what we see is anything compared to what, they deal with on a daily basis either. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Because just like with cancer, there's different stages, different types. You can have different stages and different types of PTSD.
Right. And the more that I looked into it, especially for that lecture, to find out, and, the human factor is very much a part of that it doesn't matter what role you have, whether it's fire, EMS, police, or the military. The human influence and having human emotion is what makes you capable and deserving of saying, post-traumatic stress. I don't like to call it disorder. That's personally me. Again, that's fear every EMS provider has or public safety has. And like I said, not that we joke. We have dark humor, gallows humor, and all that stuff. But at the same time, there's a lot of people, and me, including myself, in certain circles. We've turned code green into a verb. Right. I'm going to code green you. Another code green. I'm going to code green you right out of here. And that's not right. But again, there's been people who. During that resiliency lecture, I was like, hey, listen, you guys know we have a CISM team local, we have state resources, we have county resources. If you guys ever need to come talk, doors always open. Within a week, I get pulled out of the office to go talk to a crew who had a difficult call, and I was like, dude, really? And everyone, another person in the office said, you told them open door, you got to go. Like, let's go talk. And I was like, I was glad to do it. And, they felt better. They were able to continue on with their shift. And we followed up. I'm not going to be like, well, I got to code green ya. Let's call this number. It wasn't anything like that. Sometimes it's just a simple debrief. And I think a lot of people have been there. And again, on social media, people are very, very really weird on social media where, like, you look at Facebook. Facebook makes you put your name. It's your name. You're not anonymous. I've seen people say, I don't want to talk to my local CISM. I want to talk to somebody from a county where I don't know. Personally, that's not me. I would rather talk to people I know. And I would rather talk to somebody who is an expert at it. Like an actual clinical psychologist. We can debrief off of a bad call and be like, man, that sucks to be that guy. Or, dude, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. But ultimately, again, you sit on the couch, you pay for your hour, and you talk, and you hope for some type of, relief, closure, whatever it ends up being, individualized, I guess.
Well, there's something that I wish that I haven't found yet. It may be out there, but it would be cool if, because of how it's viewed, it might never happen anytime soon, but if someone from the military or a police officer or someone who's experienced what we've experienced, opened up their couch to us, they went through the training, and so they know firsthand what we're going through, because counselors and therapists go through training, but they never see what we see.
Right. Well, they're very few and far between, and I can't remember her name. There's a very well-known woman. I just can't remember her name. She's in North Carolina, and she specializes in public safety. I would make the trip to go if I ever had to. I would seek that person out, and I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head, but she's renowned for that. And I think she came from the field and then ended up in clinical psychology. So It's out there. I agree with you 100%. Paramedic school does not prepare you for that. We can do all the affect exercises we want, but we don't want to leave you with long-lasting trauma in school except, memorizing drug profiles.
And even when you're a student on a truck, everything's all new and it's all...
You're there as a student.
Adrenaline.
Right, you're there as a student. You're there to learn, and you probably don't think about... There's probably a good chance that you don't think about things like that till years down the road. And that is what we're finding out now. It's usually within 5 years of retirement, people are starting to think, in 5 years, I'm not going to have that structure. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to have a purpose. The military goes through that. What am I going to do? And then all of a sudden, things that didn't bother you for 20 years, you start thinking about it. They start bothering you a little bit. And, it's weird. It's like, 15 years ago, hey, as long as it wasn't my own blood, I can be up to my ankles in yours. But now, if somebody cut their finger and I'm a little skeeved out by it, things start bothering me. I remember a call from, October 16th, 2001. What's going on? Why am I thinking about this? And that's what we're seeing now. So that's not going to go away, and it's definitely an area of EMS that needs to be addressed. So, or all public safety. So, not to get off of that, but what would you say to the paramedic student on their first day of their first ALS course? What would you say to them? Any advice for them?
Ask all the questions you can.
Ask all the questions you can. Never a stupid question, right? All right. What else? Anything else? What do you wish somebody told you?
That you're not going to die. You will not die going through this program as much as you feel
You're going to make it. You're going to make it no matter how bad you think it gets. All right, fair enough. So what would you tell them while they're walking down the aisle to graduation or pinning or whichever? What would you tell them?
I mean, it's kind of cliche and everybody says it, but now the real life training actually starts.
The real learning starts, right?
Yeah.
I say it every year on Facebook when people are like, "Oh, I got my registry, I passed my written." I was like, or I got my job, I got my dream job. Hey, now the real learning's going to start.
Because when I was finished this program and everything, you think, okay, I can do this. Then you get on a truck and you think, oh shit, what did I get myself into? You
got yourself into a public safety job, a public service job, a healthcare job, and you got into a job at an entry level, which is what we test you at. National Registry is an entry level, 75% of the job. And now you have to learn to be a paramedic. We gave you the toolbox. You got it with you. But now you have to learn to be a paramedic, become a clinician. You have to be a clinician.
And there is a little bit of confidence dropping when you get on the truck for that first time if you've never worked emergent before, or even if you switch systems. But that's not a bad thing. A little bit of a confidence drop is not a bad thing because it makes you look over their protocols. It makes you relearn where they put stuff on the truck. It makes you better.
It's not a.
I don't know if confidence drop, but
can I replace the word confidence with fear?
Yeah,
it's a little bit of fear. Mm-hmm. You have to be a little scared because
you got to respect the job.
Fear is going to keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
Fear is going to keep you in that protocol, that guidelines, and wanting to come to work and be better than the other trainees you were hired with, or I want to make it through my field training. I want to be like so and so, and that kind of pulls me into the next couple questions. So, what do you think about mentors? Like, you think?
Okay, I got blessed. I had amazing FTOs.
Okay.
And I'm with an amazing partner right now. Well, she's a good partner for the amount of years that she spent in this career at the level that she's at right now. She's a good partner. And, I've been blessed to have those good, strong paramedics around me. And if I can become half the paramedics that they are, I consider myself lucky.
So are you equating training officers with mentors, or are you just lucky that you're able to have a mentor that's also a training officer for you?
I'm lucky that a lot of my mentors are also FTOs. I mean, they are FTOs, but some of them I didn't have as an FTO. They just happen to have that title also.
Right. So do you have anybody outside of that role that, and maybe not
My
even,
partner right
maybe
now-
not even outside of EMS?
Outside of EMS?
It doesn't have to be. I'm just saying. I mean, you have mentors.
I meant my parents, but...
Right. Are they more role models than mentors?
Probably. I
Kind of
don't
like
know.
a role model. I think some people don't think there's a difference. Think some people do. I don't really have a good grasp on it myself. My mentors, I was very spoiled. My Explorer mentors. I mean, that's what I call them. I mean, like, I thank them as every chance I get for their EMS knowledge and pushing me in the right direction at a super early age through that program. And not to take away, there's plenty of people down here that I look up to and be like, man, if I can be like this person in EMS, I've made it. Or down the road, if people speak about me like they speak about this person, be like, look, I've made it. Like, it's been worth it, especially in the teaching end of it. So, and then the clinical aspect. So I mean, I get it. I absolutely get it. Do you think mentors are important, or, can you just, you have a good field training officer, you get out there, you do the job, get your experiences and your exposures, and go from there?
I think that having a mentor is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, my mentors, some of them started off as my FTO, then they've transitioned into my friends and my mentors.
Right.
And even after surviving that first year, I still will text them and ask them questions about different calls.
And you don't feel bad about that
no.
at all? It's super easy to have that conversation. Yeah. No one's going to judge you, and it's usually something positive. But on the other side of that, are they ever afraid to be like, you know what, Jen, I think you might have messed that up, but here's what I would have done, or hey, did you think of this? Where you still learn something out of it, but it's in like a really non-threatening, I won't say nurturing way, but very non-threatening, like, you would never go to your teacher and be like, what do you think? And they're like, oh my God, why, I just taught you this. Why didn't you know that? And because you're a student and you probably don't have a great mastery of it yet. So.
No, with my mentors, I don't have any of that fear. Like, they're awesome. Really great. And like you said at the beginning of the session, there's not such a thing as a stupid question.
Right.
And if it makes me a better clinician for my patients, a better paramedic, even if it's a stupid question, though there are none, I'm going to ask it because I want my patient care to be the best that it can be. All
right. Outstanding. So, I don't know if you remember, it's only been a year, but I used to say about, people have their EMS epiphany, or it starts to click for them. Some people it's going to click maybe during the end of school, close to like 1 month before graduation, or some people it clicks when they walk down the aisle, and then other people it doesn't click until 6 months, a year, maybe a year and a half into the job. When have you had your EMS epiphany yet? Like, did it click? Did it all fall into place yet? Or
I think I've had it.
Yeah? When was it? Was it before school ended, or was it during your first job? Or your first ALS job?
Probably during my first ALS job.
Okay.
Well, okay, so I've always struggled to understand what you mean by it clicks.
So, like, everything falls in place. Like, I understand it. I understand where the path of biz kind of fits in, or sometimes I kind of explain it where you sit on a call, like maybe you and your partner on a call, and you're not the primary on the call, so you're helping out your partner, and they're doing the interview, they're doing the history and physical, and you're digging through the bag. Maybe they ask you for oxygen, and you're like, I'll get the cannula out, and you're not really paying attention, but you kind of hear what's going on, and your partner, they're asking questions, but the patient says something in response to your partner, and like your ears perk up, and you're like, I would look here next, because maybe your partner didn't catch it, but you get yours up like a dog, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know what? Not to interrupt, but when's the last time you had a bowel movement? Like, it's some kind of question like that, because you heard something that they said in the context, and all of a sudden everything that you were kind of taught made sense, and you're like, hey, that would be this is what I think is going on. Maybe my partner didn't catch it, but you did. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I can't believe I remembered that it goes together, and we should treat the patient like this, something like that. Or
Okay,
Up to a point maybe where your hands move faster than your brain and things just seem to be working.
So probably about 4 months into the job.
4 months into it.
I mean, I knew, I was comfortable working and everything, and it's not a bad thing to have that delay.
No, I don't think it's a delay at all.
But,
I don't think there's a time period for it either.
But yeah, probably about 4 months into it, certain things started to click.
Right.
I mean, obviously a lot more stuff clicks now than it did 4 months ago when things started to, but...
That's awesome. I mean, I get it. And how do you feel now, though? Do you feel better going on to a shift, or...?
Yeah, I feel a lot better going on to the shift.
So it's a big confidence boost.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Have you been burned yet? Have you been burned by something, maybe overconfidence, or just, we always say the patient doesn't read the textbook.
Yes.
And did it cause you to doubt your comfortability or your EMS epiphany, or was it just another learning experience, exposure, and let's move on, learn from it?
More like a learning experience.
Right, good.
I did a lot of doubting in paramedic school. Now I view everything as a learning experience.
Awesome. And this is a more personal question, but do you kind of like self-reflect? Like,
all the time.
Awesome. Even if you're like, I think I screwed that up.
Yeah, because
it's not always like puppy dogs and sunshine, right?
You can always learn, even from a basic call,
Awesome.
There's always a learning experience.
Awesome. All right. So, tell me about your first year. Tell me about your survival year. Does anything stand out about it? You made it.
I didn't make it.
You made it.
I made it.
You didn't quit that job. You're still at the same service. And
Still
again, for anybody listening, this service is a local service in the upstate of South Carolina, where typically have about 82,000 responses per year and about 75,000 transports. So it's extremely busy, extremely busy. So yeah, you made it? So tell me, is there something what sticks out?
First thing, always make sure your truck's in park. No matter how amped up your partner makes the call sound, always make sure the truck's in park. So that's the first thing I learned.
That was the first thing. That's what you got out of your survival year.
Well,
make sure the truck's in
that
park.
was the first survival month.
That was the first month.
As the second man on a truck.
Okay.
I ended up getting bruises from that too. That was hilarious. After the fact.
What else?
Always treat your patients as if they're your family members.
That is a common theme. It's absolutely somebody's emergency, right? Absolutely. So let me ask you this. You passed your first year. You made the survival year. What are you going to focus on for your second year? What have you been working on? Is it just like, God, let me make it through another day, let me make it through another shift, or is there something, do you have like specific goals?
I need to work on my innovations.
Innovation?
There's no one, my patients, either they're my partner's patients that need innovation, and so she takes the airway, which I have no complaints about, or they're my patients and I don't need to be innovated. So, field experience innovation-wise, I don't have as much as I'd like.
So do you do anything to keep up your skills for that? Like, do you practice on the dummy?
I practice on the dummy.
Very good.
When we do the CEP or IST or whatever they're called now, I try and do innovations on the mannequins. I ask the people after everybody's gone through, make it as difficult as possible, inflate the tongue, make it like they're having laryngeal spasms.
Right.
Stuff like that.
So you're working on hard skills. You're working on. All right, good deal. So I like to tell people unsolicited advice, usually, especially when you walk out of the classroom. That first year is your survival year, and that second year you actually work on developing yourself as an actual paramedic. That's where you get to find how you like to do things. And a lot of people say, no, I do that in the first year. No, in the first year you were watching everybody else, and you're like, I had my first long-term partner. He set up his IVs a very specific way on the bench seat so that he would never have to turn around to look at where things were. He could just grab it and never take his eye off the patient. And that, that's not me, but it was something, since I would help him, I kind of adopted it and it worked. And then, you had a few other partners, you'd learn something from them. A lot of people always joke. I joke when I see people take, at least locally, and I didn't invent this at all, people take their flashlight and try and transluminate a vein. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, someone will be like, oh, I know who taught you that. And it's like, it's not anything groundbreaking, but it's one of those, it's like, hey, try it. If it works, you add it to your toolbox. If it doesn't, you tweak it. It still doesn't work, you get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that second year, I think, is when people start to go, how do I really like to do things? Or I'm pretty comfortable with the basics. How do I like to do things? Like, how I'm in charge of this truck now. There's no FTO telling me every couple weeks what I need to do. And now I get to do stuff. I made it. I can start learn. We told you, now the real learning starts. That's the first year. The second year, you get to kind of, that leash gets a little bit longer. Or maybe you work with a couple part-timers, and now you're really in charge. People are looking for you. Work with a lower certified provider, and they're looking at you like, well, if things go bad, I'm looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
You get that more responsibility. So is that you just pushing with or trying to reinforce your innovations, those hard skills? Is there anything else, or?
I mean, like you say, at this point in time, I am figuring out things that certain ways I like to do things, and it's kind of cool.
Right. And the more that you kind of discover something, you feel like
right.
you discover something, you're like, well, they didn't tell me about this in school, but check it out. I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So what's next? What's next for Jennifer? Where do you want EMS to take you? I always say you get out of it what you put into it. So where do you want it to take you?
I'm still trying to figure that out, honestly.
Awesome.
I've toyed with the idea of maybe eventually someday doing contract stuff, or see what I can do with the military or whatnot, medical wise. But still looking into it.
For right now, it's just enjoying running the calls.
Yeah, because you gotta build that experience before all these other places will take you.
Well, I agree.
And I don't hate what I do right now. I love it. I absolutely love it. And overall, it's a good company that I work for. The protocols are good.
So if you want to practice medicine, it's the place to be.
Yeah. So I have no complaints about that stuff right now.
Awesome. But what do you have, like, if you say strategic planning, 2-year plan, 5-year plan? Where are you at in the next 5? What's
okay,
your, like?
So,
do you have any?
So
do you have an educational goal? Do you have a performance goal? Anything like that?
So within the last 6 months, my life kind of fell apart. So all my goals and dreams and all that stuff are kind of on hold or being reconfigured right now. So I honestly don't have an answer for you.
Reassessing.
Yeah, reassessing.
You're reassessing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, then obviously we'll have you back on with all your, your reassessed plans and where you're gonna go. What else? What else do you have for me? What else? What do you got? What else
you
got
wanted to talk about how much I work.
Yeah, you work a lot.
Yeah.
I see your social media posts. You work a lot.
I don't want to work a lot. Believe me, if I had another option, I would not work a lot.
You're doing it out of necessity. You feel it's a necessity. Yes. So let me ask you a question. And I'm not.
In fact, I was just talking to another paramedic last night about it, and I asked him specifically, how do you? Because he knows the situation that I'm in too. I'm like, I've got all these bills that now are all my responsibility, and not having 2 salaries come in sucks. So how do you work and cover those bills so that your credit scores and you don't get in debt even more and you don't have bill collectors at your door, but yet not burn out? Because you work a lot, you burn yourself out, and it's your own fault. Essentially, because you're the one picking up all those hours, and you're the one that, you plan to have 2 incomes coming in, but life happens, and at the point in time, you were the one that agreed to it, and even though shit happens, it's still your responsibility.
I understand, and I'd like to add a layer to that.
Okay.
Not to pile anything else on you, but because it's a super sexy hot button topic in EMS right now. At what point does it become unsafe, sleep-wise, rest-wise, resilience, mental health-wise, to split that I gotta pay all these extra bills with I gotta keep my mental sanity type stuff.
Right.
On top of all the personal stuff you're going to be dealing with, or you are dealing with.
Right, and that's what I was talking to him about last night, because, I told myself after last month or the month before that I wasn't going to do any more of those 24s, 36s because, it's not safe for me, not safe for the patient. So I've been trying to schedule the schedule, such that I can at least have a guaranteed 4 to 6 hours of sleep between each shift.
Right.
And when I work long weeks that I work 7, 8 shifts in a row, I look at my calendar and try and do it on days or weeks that I don't have much else planned.
So, to take a page from the local fire departments, as much as we love to make fun of those guys and girls, have you thought about a second job that's not EMS?
I have, but honestly, I don't know what I'd do.
Something completely unrelated.
Yeah,
like go work at Target.
Well, before I got into the EMS, I was a sales associate. Absolutely hated it. And I don't want to, not that sales associates, waitresses, waiters are
ton of EMS people in food service.
Right.
Came from it, in fact. Came from food service.
Yeah. One of the kids in my class, well, maybe several of the kids in my class came from it. I'm not sure. I know one for sure. But, I don't know what I want to do because
EMS is your life, isn't it?
Not
a bad thing.
No, to some extent it is.
I just want to hear you say it.
To some extent, EMS is my life right now because everything else in my life is a mess, and that's the one thing that, I feel like I have.
There's purpose and structure and uniformity. I absolutely understand it.
Yeah. But I have thought about a different job, or even picking up a job with mobile care again, or another one of the dialysis transport companies, just because it gives you, even though you're working, it's a mental rest.
Right. And I think that's important. I don't have a turnkey answer for you though. But when you find it, I'm gonna have you back on and we'll talk all about it. But I absolutely appreciate you coming in to do this. I think it gives good insight. You're not, out of the group of people that I kind of picked for this little project, you're not the baby, but you're pretty close.
Oh, I know.
You're pretty close.
I'm
out of school.
I'm still considered a baby medic.
You are.
Medic.
But,
And I used to be offended by that term, a baby medic. But this kind of...
Better than the new guy, right?
Better than the new guy.
Better than the new guy.
And
better than the student.
And people know that you're still learning, too.
Yeah.
So they're more willing to answer your questions. They're not as much ready to look down on you or be like, oh, you've been doing this for 10, 15 years. You should know that by now.
I agree. So I think it's good to get the insights. In my head, I think I know what a lot of the answers are between the first year medic, 2-year medic, 5th year medic. I just want to hear them. I want to hear people's experiences. I worked at that service for 15 years. Been EMS for a long time, and both sides of it, the education side, the clinical side, and it's fun for me to talk to people, especially to see. And it's not to validate how well I was your teacher or how good of a job I did. I'd rather hear your experiences in the field and what it's like to progress through the stages. So I appreciate you coming in. I want to have you back on. I want to have all my friends back on. That's what this is. It's not, not meant to be, educational, and some of them will be, but like I said, I just want to kind of get together, talk, keep it local, keep it friendly, keep it conversational, and see where it takes us. I don't think there's enough EMS podcasts out there. I think medics across the country, EMTs across the country feel the same way. They just don't really have an outlet for it. So if I can do it in an entertaining way with entertaining people, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks.
You're welcome.